Who was Uatu the Watcher? Well, let's break down a few things you should know.
Oh, man. Anyway, before I was so rudely interrupted, at that time, I was a Federal Express man. Fellas, hey, wait, where are you going? Hey, you were supposed to be my lift home. How will I get out of here? Hey, gee, I've got so many more stories to tell. Guys.
Uatu as a Watcher took an oath to never ever interfere in the multiverse and simply watch and observe what went on there. But where did this Watcher come from? So, billions and billions of years ago, the technologically advanced extraterrestrial race known as the Watchers decided it was their duty to help the universe's less advanced races. One of these members' names was Ikor. Soon, time came for their first experiment proposed by Ikor, and 4 Watchers brought atomic energy knowledge to the planet of Procilius. The Procilians accepted the gift, but used it to develop nuclear weapons and, of course, engaged in an auto-genocidal war. Ashamed, the Watchers vowed to never again interfere in the affairs of other races. Ikor drafted a code of ethics based upon the strict non-interference and passive observation that was so strict that if another being were dying at the Watchers' feet, the Watchers would offer absolutely no aid. With their new code established, the Watchers evacuated their homeworld and relocated throughout the galaxies, each Watcher choosing a solar system where they could observe and mentally record the lives of the other races for the sake of eventually sharing it with the fellow Watchers. The Watchers would then sporadically reassemble to pool their knowledge and share what they had witnessed. Ikor's son Uatu chose Earth's solar system as his new home and was based in the blue area of Earth's moon, an abandoned settlement built by the Kree aliens and the Coati, from which he observed Earth for billions of years. At first, Uatu adhered to his race's vow of non-interference. He did not physically intervene when the Gundan known as the Sun Stealer threatened to transport Earth's sun to his own solar system. Although he did trick the alien into expending his oxygen tanks before he could accomplish his mission. And he even spurned the affections of the extraterrestrial queen, Kathia, who offered Uatu her hand in marriage after his appearance caused the barbarians threatening her kingdom to retreat. But over the centuries, Uatu grew so fond of life forms that he observed that he occasionally violated his vow of non-interference when Earth's existence was threatened. Now, as we go on, there's going to be several terms that will help us understand Uatu's purpose, starting with the nexus of all realities. The nexus only emerged following the death of He Who Remains and the fracturing of the multiverse. We all remember this happening, right?
Incredible.
Aren't you going to beg for your life?
Good. See you soon.
The Nexus of All Realities is a cross-dimensional gateway that allows access to all possible realities. This is where Uatu spent his time so that he could observe the universes. But of course, the Nexus timeline could not have existed if the Sacred Timeline had not been broken. The Sacred Timeline was a collection of realities that were isolated after the multiversal war by He Who Remains. Again, you remember him, right? These realities shared the same baseline despite being different from one another, as they all led to the birth of He Who Remains and thus prevented the birth of evil variants of him. Therefore, the sacred timeline followed a strict script, which meant their inhabitants did not have free will, since if their choices caused a branch within the sacred timeline that deviated from the sacred path, the Time Variance Authority would arrive to prune it. These divergences were referred to as Nexus events. The TVA had to prune those branches before they reached a certain point of no return, since after that, the timelines could not be reset and the multiverse would spiral into chaos. But if you watch Loki, you know what happens.
No turning back now.
Who said anything about turning back?
For all time.
Always.
While watching these events transpire, Uatu often compared the differences of alter realities to Earth 616, since many worlds were spawned from that universe's point of divergence. Uatu also had been narrating the stories that unfolded in the realities, referring to himself as the Watcher. He also became a member of the Cosmic Entities, as a statue of him was constructed at the gates of eternity. Uatu's first recorded encounter with an Earthling occurred in the year 1602 AD, when a possible future Captain America was inadvertently sent back in time to that era, causing ripples in the timeline that threatened the very fabric of reality. Uatu revealed the nature of the problem to an Elizabethan-era version of Doctor Strange, who helped send the temporarily displaced Captain America back through a time portal, correcting the timeline. Uatu's superior, however, allowed the divergent timeline Earth 311 to persist in a pocket dimension. Soon after, at the wedding of Mr. Fantastic and the Invisible Woman, Uatu helped Mr. Fantastic defeat a horde of supervillains who threatened the ceremony by transporting him to the Watcher's home. Afterwards, Uatu allowed Reed and Sue to honeymoon in the Blue Area City, providing an opulent banquet hall and assuring the newlyweds that they would be the only beings in the galaxy he would not be watching that night. Eventually, Uatu disgraced himself completely by physically opposing the Kree soldier Captain Mar-Vell. He at that point was placed on trial by his own people for his numerous violations of their ethic code. Uatu explained that the only reason he acted in that manner was because he resonated with the emotions that he observed on Earth, and thus he yearned to be involved. At the conclusion of his trial, Uatu was released from custody after promising to never interfere in the affairs of races again. He did several hundred more times. Present at Uatu's earlier trial was his nephew, Ron, a relatively young Watcher mentored by his uncle, who was not yet assigned a solar system to observe. Fascinated by Earth, Ron eventually broke the Watcher's code by manipulating the Fantastic Four and Inhumans into a fight. Now a rogue Watcher, Ron grew more malevolent after cloning the Fantastic Four and trying to create a pocket world within the mind of Alicia Masters. Ron was ambushed by Dr. Doom, who siphoned off Ron's power into a containment device. Uatu cared for Ron as his nephew recovered, but before Ron could be tried for his crimes, the Watchers became preoccupied with the threat posed by the giant cosmic entities known as the Celestials. Ron sees this opportunity to masquerade as his uncle Uatu and manipulate the Fantastic Four into helping him recover the energy stolen from him by Doom. Completing the first phase of his plan, Ron plotted to swallow the entire universe into a black hole and then create a new universe for himself to manipulate. Opposed by the Fantastic Four and Fantastic Force, Ron pitted legions of their past enemies against them. But Ant-Man foiled his schemes by destroying the device needed to create the black hole. In the end, Uatu disciplined his nephew by dissipating his energy and using it to revive the leader of the Watchers, known as the One. Uatu was stripped of his title at that point and exiled by the Watchers for these controversial actions. Despite his expulsion, however, Uatu continued to observe affairs on Earth, compelled by their lives and the struggles of all of the inhabitants. Eventually reinstated into the Watchers, Uatu witnessed the temporary demise of Galactus. Soon after, Uatu was viciously attacked by Abraxas, a cosmic entity threatening all of reality. but Abraxas was defeated by the Fantastic Four. Despite having the title of The Watcher, Uatu seems to find himself doing more often than not. To see more of his unyielding involvement in the MCU, do yourself a favor and watch the What If series on Disney+. And if you like this video, make sure to let me know by hitting that like button. And if you'd like to stay up to date on when I'm dropping videos, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Until then, everyone, stay geeky, and I'll see you for the next one.